Hello and welcome to this episode of Simply Saturday, where I get to show you a card that is fast and easy to make. My name is Julie and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. I'm very happy to show you this card design today. I think it's one that you are going to want to recreate with many different papers and many different color schemes. Do be sure and take down the notes of the sizes of the papers that I'm using, or earmark this video so you can come back and check them often, because once you get the sizes of the designer series paper, the card goes together in a snap. So I am beginning with a card base that is Mossy Meadow, and it is 4 1/4 inches by 11 inches, scored and folded at 5 1/2. So this card will open in this direction. This could also be a basic white thick cardstock base because we're going to add a lot of color on top, but I did like the combination of colors that I chose for today. So there is our base. Then you're going to need a colored piece of cardstock. This is a panel that's going to go on the front of the card. This piece measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 inches. Then I have a circle. This circle can be die cut or punched. This is about a 1 3/4 inch circle. You could do the card with a little bit larger circle, but this will definitely work. I will show you 2 cards at the end that are just slightly different, but the same idea. So this is 1 3/4 inch circle. Then comes the designer series paper. So you're going to want to collect 3 coordinating pieces. So the pieces that I'm using happen to come from the SaleABration brochure. This is January and February of 2023. And the paper that I'm showing you is actually one of the free selections that you can choose with a $50 purchase. So you can see here on page 11 of the brochure, this beautiful paper, but it never is as pretty in the picture as it is when you see it in person. So this is the paper I've chosen, and the color scheme was based on the colors in that designer series paper. So you're going to need 3 coordinating pieces, and here are the measurements. This first piece, which we'll call A, is 1 1/8 inch by 2 3/4 inches. Piece B is 1 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. And your third piece, piece C, is 1 3/8 inches by 3 inches. So those are the measurements that you'll need for these papers to lay out nicely on our panel. All right, that's what we're going to do to begin with. So here is the basic layout. That piece that is 1 3/8 by 3 is going to go at the bottom, and the other 2 pieces are going to go side by side here. I find it easiest to place this one down first. So I've got some liquid glue here, and I'm just going to quickly and easily attach this piece to the bottom of my base here, my panel. And what I'm doing is I'm eyeballing the side margins and the bottom margin to get them relatively the same. Okay, once that piece is down, it kind of establishes your margins for the rest of the pieces. So that's why I suggest you put this one down first. Okay, then I'm going to go with this piece and get it attached. A little liquid glue goes a long way. Okay, so now I'm watching the margins between these 2 pieces, also the top and the side, and keep in mind I'm going to have my third and final piece of designer series paper here. I'm going to turn this just so I can see it a little bit better as I'm doing my placement. So I can see this margin is pretty good. My side margin, this one looks a little bit skinny, so before I really set this down, I'm just going to wiggle it down a teeny bit. So I made this margin a teeny bit smaller just because I feel like this one is better. And straighten it out. That's the nice part about using your liquid glue, is you've got a little bit of time to wiggle and play with your placement before you commit. Okay, that's 2 of the 3. And then the final piece, and this one's pretty easy because I've already got my margins established. So at this point, you just kind of have to go with the best that you can do of straight, equal margins, and proper placement, like so. Okay, I really like the combination of the floral and the geometrics, and I think it's quite pleasing. Okay, that part is super easy. We're going to attach it to our card base. I want to mention that if you stay tuned to the very end of the video, I am going to show you just a couple things that you could do to this quick and easy card if you wanted to step it up a little bit and just make it a tiny bit more decorative. Little bit of extras that you can add. All right, so I am getting this in place like so. And I'm seeing that my card base seems to be a little bit off. So I'm actually going to try to line this up a teeny bit better. I don't know if I was just in a hurry when I was cutting or what. And I'm just going to smooth this out with my bone folder and ease that a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right, so we've got our panel on there. Now we're going to do our stamping. So we'll take that circle. I'm using Blackberry Bliss, which is also the same color as this panel of cardstock, if I didn't mention that before. And I'm using words from a brand new stamp set in the January to April mini catalog. It's called Go To Greetings. I really like it. It's the things that you need all the time. Hello, just a note, thank you, happy birthday, thinking of you. And it's done in a variety of scripts. So you've got just a note in a couple different fonts, thank you. So different fonts, different sizes. I think this is going to be really handy. So I'm using just a note. And because I have not used this particular stamp ever before, I am going to grab my scratch paper and just do a practice image or two. Just getting familiar with the stamp. All right, I think that's going to be great. And this is going to go right there. Okay, this piece is going to get added to the card right here. It's covering up those seams where they come together. And, excuse me, I bumped my microphone cord and it kind of made everything jiggle. Okay, I've got some Stampin' Dimensionals. So I'm just going to use 3 of those on the back of this. And we'll get this in place like so. And then what I want to do to this is add a couple of embellishments. And I do have to reach across my Stamp Studio to grab those. So hold on. Be patient with me while I step away and grab some embellishments. There's a number of ones that could look good on here. So I've just grabbed 2 packages of embellishments and I will see which ones we want to use today. All right, so I've got iridescent rhinestone jewels. That's a for sure. I think that will work. I just wondered if these gold ones might work, the pastel adhesive backed sequins, but oh yeah, they would. Okay, let's switch it up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and use these sequins. Okay, I'm going to add there's small ones and there's large ones. Let me grab the large ones. They're kind of clinging to each other. There we go. All right, so I'm going to take a large, I would call this gold. Do you think that's gold? Gold sequin and add it here. and then a couple of small ones sprinkled about. So let's do one. All right. I think I'm going to use 5 today. Odd numbers are typically better than even numbers when it comes to your embellishments. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we need our 5th one. I think it's just going to go over here. Kind of a zigzag pattern as it's traveling down the card. Oh, maybe I want 2 on here. All right, I think that's what I'll do for this one. All right, so there we have it. Your designer paper is really the star on this card. The sentiment can be whatever you need it to be, of course. We would probably like to place a white panel on the inside. I would, because this is kind of a dark card base. So the inside is going to go there. Let's dress up. Okay, we're going to stop there. There's our Simply Saturday card. But as I mentioned, stay tuned. Let's dress this up just a teeny bit. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is take that inside panel and add some decoration to it. So I have a 1/2 inch piece of that same designer series paper. I've cut it a little bit extra long. This piece of cardstock for the inside is 4 inches by 5 1/4. This piece is extra long. I'll show you why I did that. Sometimes I like to leave my papers a little bit longer than is going to be necessary because it gives me ease in just laying this down, whether I want it all the way on the very edge, flush with the edge, or a little bit up. I can just lay it down, slide it around if I need to, make sure that it's nice and straight how I want it. Press it down, and now I can just bring in my scissors and trim off those extra pieces. So instead of having to line up 3 edges to make it look really good, you really only have to just eyeball it and lay it down, and then we can trim these off. So this is step 1 of dressing up our card just a little bit. All right, so that is the inside panel now. So I would definitely do that as a stepped up version. Okay, another thing that can be done is this base of the card can be put through an embossing folder first. So what I would do in this instance, I've got my Mossy Meadow cardstock, 4 1/4 by 11 inches. In order to put this through and have the embossed part of the card only on the front like this, I take it, I put it inside. This is a lovely 3D embossing folder. So what I do is I lay it inside the folder with the fold, you can see that, with the fold right at the very edge of the embossing folder, but then I slide it up into the folder just a teeny bit so that the entire front panel gets a print. If you do it right on the edge of the fold, you're going to end up with a microscopic little edge here that does not have any embossed image. So you really have to get it in place right on the fold and then put it up into the embossing folder just a smidge so that your fold or your crease from your card is a little bit higher than the edge of the embossing folder. I hope that made sense. All right, once you've done that, then you can fold your card, burnish it with your bone folder. If anything, you might end up with a little bit of embossed image on the back of the card, but that is far, far, far better than having a part on the front of the card that does not have any dry embossing. So that's why I suggest slipping it a little further into that folder. Okay, so now we have that. Our panel would rest on this, and it just has that nice chunky texture. It's just beautiful. Then let me show you one other thing that you could do to our plain circle. So after stamping where's my ink pad? After stamping just a note, I would dress this up a little bit with some splatters. A pretty easy way to do that is to use a matching or a coordinating Stampin' Write marker, and you're going to want to use the brush tip for this method. I'm going to bring in this scratch paper just to lay in place here. So you take the brush marker end and the cap of the pen. You're basically using some pressure from the inside of the cap, and you're flicking the marker down towards the paper. As you can see, it's leaving little ink splatters on my white circle. Now, by moving this around, you can get the splatters in different spots. All right, so now you can see that I've got a speckled circle, which I just love, instead of the plain one, like this. All right, so I would put that in place. So we've got that dressed up. We have the inside dressed up, and we also have a card base that was pressed with an embossing folder. All right, let me show you a completed version like that. I did use different words when I created that card. It looks like this. There you can see that chunky texture in the background. I have my words stamped and my splatter. I did add a little knot of ribbon on this one, and also some different embellishments. These are the flat iridescent pearls, and they are just beautiful. Let's see, on the inside, I did a strip of paper vertically on this one. Okay, I've got one other one to show you. And this one, I changed up the papers completely and the colors. And I used elements from the Country Floral Lane suite of products. So I've got some designer series paper here, a different sentiment. Again, I did a knotted piece of ribbon, some of those pastel adhesive backed sequins, and the inside is decorated with a strip of designer series paper. So you can see how just changing out these papers can give you an entirely different look, and we can go from very clean and simple to dressed up just a little bit. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please click on the description below the video. I believe the words that show there now, they've changed it a little bit. I think it says show more. If you click on those words, then the box will open, and I have lots of information for you, including a current host code, as well as the materials that we used for today's project. Thank you for watching. Happy stamping. See you next time.